Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Language Arts Gallery. Today, we're going to talk about direct versus reported speech. We're going to talk about how to backshift in reported speech. And we're going to talk about the importance of using direct quotations in our academic writing. So let's get started.
Okay, so let's begin by talking about the difference between direct or quoted speech and reported speech or indirect speech. So when we use direct speech, we're showing exactly what another person says. So for example, Tom says, "I want to leave." So here you can see we use quotation marks because we're showing exactly what Tom says. Direct speech also uses reporting verbs. Said is probably the most common reporting verb, but it's by no means the only reporting verb. So let's think about some other reporting verbs that you know. So you might have said words like said, told, claimed, indicated, reported, opined, offered, suggested, explained, boasted, claimed, admitted, advised, or ordered. Now, these are just some of the reporting verbs that you can use. This is by no means an exhaustive list of reporting verbs. So sometimes we have to indicate what people say without using direct quotations. And when we have to do that, we're going to use reported speech. So remember, when you're reading reported speech, you shouldn't assume that this is exactly what the speaker says. If we see quotation marks, then we know it's exactly what the other person says. With reported speech, that's not necessarily the case. When we use reported speech, we do need to backshift. Backshifting involves the switching to a verb tense further back in the past. So now before we get started with this and we go over the rules associated with backshifting, I want you to realize the importance and how applicable backshifting is in the English language. So normally when you're speaking to a native speaker and they're indicating what someone else has said, very rarely do they follow these rules. I would say almost never. People almost never follow these rules. However, if you are taking a standardized English exam, you may need to understand this. So it's important to understand the rules associated with backshifting. So let's change from direct speech to reported speech. For the present simple, John said, "I feel tired." We change to the past simple. John said he felt tired. For the present continuous, Tina complained, "I am running late." We changed to the past continuous. Tina complained she was running late. For the present perfect, Joe claimed, "I have gone skiing." We changed to the past perfect. Joe claimed he had gone skiing. For the past simple, Tim admitted, "I forgot my book." We changed to the past perfect. Tim admitted he had forgotten his book. For the past continuous, we changed to the past perfect continuous. Instead of Jen told us I was reading the report, we would say Jen told us she had been reading the report. The past perfect does not change. Mike reported Barb had spoken to the boss before I did. We would change this to Mike reported that Barb had spoken to the boss before he had. We've got the past tense there, so we need to change the past tense to the past perfect. And the future with will, we change will to would. Eric said, "I will be there at 5," changes to Eric said he would be there at 5. So you might have heard when I was reading out those examples that the pronouns in reported speech change. Okay, here Mike is talking about himself, so he uses the first person pronoun. He says I. When we are reporting that, we need to use the third person pronoun and say he. So we need to make sure we change those pronouns to reflect the person that's speaking at that time. So based on this, what do you think happens to demonstratives like this, that, these, and those? That's right. They're going to change as well. And they're going to follow the same rules that we would use when we're using demonstratives in our own speech. Jack said, I love this book. We could change this to Jack said that he loved this book, or Jack said that he loved that book. It would all depend on proximity. If we're holding the book and talking about what Jack thought of it, we would say this book. If the book is further away from us, we would say that book. Do we ever avoid backshifting? Absolutely. It's not always required. And it's not required if the present statement still holds. So let's look at an example in context here. John and Jen are at a party. Jen declares, I'm tired. I want to go. John walks over to the host and says, Jen said she's tired and wants to go. Okay, we don't change there because Jen just told John how she feels. She's still tired and she still wants to go. You notice here that we changed it to Jen said she is tired. We changed from am to is because we're in the third person singular, and want to wants because we're in the third person singular. Here's another example. Tim tells Dora, I'm reading a great book. Dora comes home and tells her brother, Tim said he is reading a great book. Tim is still in the process of reading the book, so we don't need to change that. So let's get some practice here. I'm going to give you a moment to pause the video and then change these from direct to reported speech. Okay, so let's go over our answers. Tom said, I feel sick to my stomach. Tom said he felt sick to his stomach. Ken declared, I have finished the project. Ken said he had finished the project. Mickey cried, I forgot my wallet at school. Mickey said he has forgotten his wallet at school. She insisted, I will be on time. She said she would be on time. He said, I was hoping to go there. He said he had been hoping to go there. She said, I had visited there. She said she had visited there. Okay, now remember I use said here. You can use a variety of reporting verbs. Now let's talk about direct quotes. If you're writing academic essays, you need to ensure that you use direct quotations. You don't need to, but it certainly is important as it adds variety to your writing. So what do you think is the value of direct quotations in your writing? I just told you one, that it adds variety to your writing. What else? Let's look at some examples. First of all, direct quotes can help to support your argument. They can reinforce the main idea or the thesis statement that you're arguing. They can enhance credibility. If the quotes come from someone who is an authoritative figure on the subject, then that can be a very powerful addition to your academic essay. We can use direct quotes to hook the reader. Remember, we talked about ways of engaging our reader. We can use direct quotes, we can use strong statements, we can ask a question, but they're a very powerful way to draw the reader into our essay. Clarity. Sometimes we're looking for the perfect way to say something when someone has already said it perfectly. We want to use their words, but we want to remember to give them credit for what they've said. And variety. As I said, using quotations adds variety to our academic writing. We just want to make sure that we don't overuse quotations. So you want to never end a paragraph with a direct quotation. Why? Well, if you're writing an academic essay and you're including a quotation, you need to interpret that quote. You need to tell why it's important and how it applies to what you're writing in your academic essay. If you're writing a research report, if you're writing a dissertation or you're writing a thesis, this is very important in your literature review. This is where you're including the previous work of scholars before you, academic writers who've come before you. You want to talk about how the work that they've done applies to the work that you're currently doing now. If you're doing qualitative research, quotations are also important. Qualitative research instruments include things like interviews, observations. Oftentimes, you're interpreting writing samples. You might be doing an ethnographic study where you're observing students in the classroom, and you might be recording what the students say or what the teacher said or what their interactions are like. And you might choose to include those quotations. So that's really important when you're doing research and you're talking about presenting the findings of your study. You want to include quoted speech. It's really important to always give credit to whomever you're quoting. Okay, some universities or schools require APA, some require MLA, some use the Chicago Manual of Style. The most important thing is ensure that you make an effort to give credit to the author. If you're supposed to use APA formatting and you give credit to someone for a direct quote and your APA formatting is incorrect, you will receive notification back from your university or from your school saying that your paper is not formatted correctly. However, if you try to pass someone's work off as your own, you may receive notification that you've plagiarized their work, and the consequences for that can be very serious. So always make an effort to give credit where credit's due. Okay? So let's take a quick look at how we can use quotes in an academic passage. And here we've just got a really short passage on academic research writing. In academic research, the process of citing sources plays a crucial role. Proper citation not only acknowledges the contribution of others, but also adds credibility and authenticity to one's work. Now we've got a direct quote in here. It allows readers to trace the origins of information and ideas, fostering transparency and trust in scholarly discourse. Now, when I see that interpretation of the quote with the last sentence, it allows readers to trace the origins of information and ideas, fostering transparency and trust in scholarly discourse. They're talking about academic integrity. The answer is clearly the second choice here. Citing sources is the cornerstone of academic integrity.
Okay, thanks so much, guys, for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment on the video so that you can get future updates about academic writing and academic English. And I'll see you in our next video.